As was his habit in science class, Weston spent the entire time staring at the beautiful girl in front of him. He barely knew her, but he wanted to. She was quiet, yet had something about her that drew him in. They had only ever talked a few times. He didn't think she even knew his name, but he definitely knew hers. Audrey Grace Baker. Weston lived for the days she forgot something. Today she turned around and looked him right in the eye. "Do you have a pen? Mine ran out of ink," she said with a soft smile. Her blue eyes froze him on the spot, and he had a hard time processing the words that came out of her mouth. After a couple seconds, he finally snapped out of it. Yeah, hold on," Weston stuttered, then rummaged through his bag, finding his only pen. He quickly handed it to her, knowing he wouldn't be taking notes in this class anyways. When the class ended, she handed the pen back to him, said thank you, then walked away. He sighed, wishing he had the nerve to talk to her. At lunch, Weston was sitting with his friends and she was with hers, but as usual, his eyes were on her. His best friend, James, looked to see what he was looking at and shook his head. "Why don't you just ask her out already?" James asked. "What if she says no?" Weston replies worriedly. "Or if she has a boyfriend? He'd kill me." "Okay, fair enough. Well, you have science together, right? Isn't there a lab next week?" Weston nods in response, so James continues. "Partner up with her. Neither of you have partners, right? That way you can start to get to know her a little. If she has a boyfriend, you move on. If she doesn't and she seems to be interested, make a move. At least then you'll know." James shakes his head. "This has been going on for too long. She's cool, but you gotta know there are so many girls who would kill to go out with you. If she says no, it'll be okay." "But that's the thing. I don't want anyone else," Weston complains. "I want her." "You don't even know her, bro. How could you truly want her?" Weston sighs, knowing his friend is right. "Alright, we'll try it your way." The next Monday, his science teacher tells them to pair up. Before he loses his nerve, Weston quickly taps Audrey on the shoulder. "Hey, totally cool if not, but do you want to partner up?" Weston asks, internally smacking himself for sounding like an idiot. But then she smiles. "Sure, I was about to ask the same." She picks up her things and moves into the seat next to him. She throws him a smile, but then quickly turns back to the board as their teacher starts to detail the experiment. "Alright, class, today I need you to drop a spoonful of baking soda into the cup, which is filled with white vinegar. Before you do this, make sure to write out a hypothesis on what will happen based on our recent lessons. Follow the scientific method in your experiment. Go ahead and start." Audrey turns to Weston and he tries not to smile. "Okay, what do you think will happen?" Crap, Weston thought to himself. He hadn't been paying attention since he noticed her in class the second week of school. It got even worse when their seats got moved. "Nothing?" She laughs a little. "Fair enough. I think that since one is an acid and the other is a base, they'll react somehow, maybe within an explosion?" Audrey says, then looks at him. "Yeah, let's go with yours." They both laugh a little. She starts to reach for the baking soda, but he stops her. "Don't forget your goggles." He hands them to her, and electricity shoots up his head with their hands brush. "Thanks, that wouldn't have been good," she says with a smile. "You ready to observe?" she asks with a smile. He just nods and watches as she drops the baking soda into the cup of vinegar. They both take notes on the reaction, but as expected, hers were more detailed. After the experiment, the teacher went to the front of the class. "Okay, guys, good job. I want your lab report on my desk by Wednesday, but I'm not going to give you any time in class, so utilize your time after school, lunch, and free period." Everybody groans, but Weston has to stop himself from dancing. He'll get time to hang out with Audrey outside of class. Like the rest of the class, Audrey was not too happy, but she tried to keep a smile. "I don't actually have a free period. I TA for Mrs. Rodney. Are you free after school?" Weston nods. "Great." She scribbles something down and hands it to him. "Here's my number. We can meet at the library, or if you'd rather meet somewhere else, just text me." And with that, she was gone. Weston stares down at the slip of paper in his hand. James's plan had worked. He had gotten her number, and he got to see her outside of class. He immediately goes to lunch to meet up with James. Once there, he tells his best friend everything that happens in class. James smiles with an "I told you so" look on his face, but Weston is so happy he doesn't care. Weston and Audrey plan to meet at the library. He has study hall as his last period, so he was okay with that. As he is sitting in the library before his last period, he thinks about if this should be the time he asks her out. He knows he should ask James, but instead decides to risk it. He bails on study hall and runs to the local supermarket. He packs out a beautiful bouquet of roses, purchases them, and rushes back to school. He gets there with a minute to spare. He sits down at a table, hiding the roses underneath his chair for after their work session. When Audrey walks in, she takes the seat across from him and they get to work. After finishing the report, Audrey stands up to go, but Weston stops her and pulls out the roses. "So here's the thing. I've liked you for a while now and was hoping maybe we could go out. Grab some ice cream or something?" "Yes, hopefully." Audrey's eyes widen and her jaw drops a little. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't see you as anything more than a friend," she tells him quietly. Weston's heart breaks as it thuds in his ears. "Oh, all good. I'll see you later then." Weston rushes out of the library feeling horrible. The next day, James asks how it went. Weston shrugs and says, "She said no. It's fine though. She wasn't even that cool. There are so many other girls that are better than her out there." James looks at his friend in disbelief. "Wes, just yesterday you were drooling over her. Don't trash about her just because you got rejected."